Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa Podcast on the BetRivers Network, brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. Of course, this is our live program on the Mike Francesa channel on the BetRivers Network on YouTube. As we have told you, we are doing these periodically, like once a week. In the summer, we will do a steady diet of these once we get into the regular season, once we get football upon us, which is coming quickly, as a matter of fact. Saratoga's already open, which is a sign that training camps are about to come. And every year, when I leave Saratoga after my stay, after the sales, and I head home, and I might go back later in the meet based on days and when we're racing and everything else, or for Travis Day and stuff like that. But when I drive down, that's when I feel like it's football season. That's the first time I really feel like it's football season, when I make that drive in August, knowing that you're into preseason games and it's time to get serious about football. And college comes on very quickly now, and it has become a very, very big business. All right. As we said, we'd have a lot on the U.S., on the British Open, the last of the four majors. Just a word on the All-Star game first. I'm not a big All-Star person. We know that. I wanted to see Skeens pitch last night. It was rather uneventful, to say the least. The most exciting thing that happened was Soto walk, so that at least Judge got up to watch him bounce out. He looked very much in control for a young pitcher. And he reminds me a little bit of, like, he's obviously very big. And he's filled out. You know, he's not a guy who has to fill out. He's already filled out. He reminds me a little bit of a cross in terms of temperament and the way he carries himself. He reminds me a little bit of Clemens and a little bit of Seaver, which is a high compliment in both cases. But that's who he reminds me of. That's really, I know a lot of people think Verlander too, but he reminds me a little bit of Clemens, a little bit of Seaver, a little bit more Seaver. But obviously looks like he's the whole deal, and he very much is in control of his game at a very young age and seems very confident in his approach. He doesn't seem overwhelmed. He doesn't seem like he is hunting for anything. It looks like he knows exactly, even his answer. And I think these interviews of players on the field are embarrassing. I hate them. I hate them. To me, they take away part of the game is having the players have their own domain. I think it is so wrong, and it takes away from the telecast to have these intrusive interviews during the game, interviewing the player while the game's going on, and walking to the mound and saying to the pitcher on the mound, I mean, give me a break. Let him own the mound. Let him own the field. Get off the field. Interview him before the game. Interview him after the game. We don't need you to interview him during the game. I mean, I find those, you don't learn anything. They are tough interviews all the time because they're quick and no one's going to say anything penetrating at that point. And to me, they just get in the way. I want to see the performance. The biggest thing about baseball really is that showcase. I think really what detracted from the showcase more than anything else were the uniforms. The uniforms were hideous. They were bad-looking softball uniforms. But baseball has no idea what they're doing with uniforms. They proved that in the preseason. They proved that with the move to these. You know, you wonder why Nike stock is in the dumpster. Why it's $72 a share? It's because they're making stuff like that and designing stuff like that. Those uniforms were awful. And they're embarrassing. They're bad high school uniforms. Plus, put the players back in their own uniforms. That's part of what the All-Star Game is about. It's a showcase. Put the player in his uniform. Brand him that way. Brand a young player in his own jersey. Not in some softball uniform where he gets lost in it. You can't even tell who those guys are in those uniforms. And they're players that the world doesn't know anyway, because you got a lot of new all-stars, a lot of kids that people don't know a lot about. Put them in their own uniforms. I hear they might go back to that next year. Do it. Put them back in their own jerseys and their own uniforms. Stop trying to sell everything to everybody all the time. And that's what it's about. It's about creating a jersey that people will buy. I'm going to buy the All-Star uniform. Hey, man, if you want to buy that one, I hope you get it cheap, because cheap is what it is. They were awful. They were embarrassing. That's how bad they were. All right. I have nothing else to say about the All-Star game because it was very uneventful. I mean, it really was. A bunch of relief pitchers coming in for an inning, a couple of home runs. I know Otani excited everybody with a home run. All right, but not a very exciting game. British Open. The most exciting thing that's happened with the British Open so far is Colin Montgomery saying Tiger Woods should retire. I don't know why Montgomery wants to get involved with Tiger Woods, because you knew you were going to get it right between the eyes. So he tells Tiger Woods to retire, and then Tiger says, well, I'm a British Open champion, which he is multiple times. I have until 60. I have an exemption to 60. Colin never won the British Open. Whack. Okay? So he doesn't have that exemption. So he doesn't have this decision to make. He's already gone. I can stay here as long as I want. Basically, I'm Tiger Woods. And he is Tiger Woods. And why would you want to rush him out of the sport? He will go when it's no fun to play anymore. Has he struggled in these majors? Yes. Is he a threat to win? No. Not in his current condition. But he keeps trying to battle. And I guarantee you there's going to be an event somewhere along the way where he's going to pop up on a leaderboard and thrill America and thrill the world. I don't know when it's going to be. It's going to happen. It's just logical that it will happen. He'll put it together for a couple of rounds. I'm not saying he's going to win another major. I don't think he will. But he'll compete for one somewhere along the way. I mean, we watched Tom Watson almost win the British Open at 59. So Tiger says he's getting stronger in the gym. He's feeling better. Listen, he suffered some serious accidents, okay? I mean, he's had some bad injuries, and he suffered some terrible accidents, okay? So from that standpoint, hey, what can you expect? But Tiger Woods is not in anybody's way out there. So why would you want to rush him off? Now, British Open, final major. Obviously, whenever you get everybody together and you get all the best players in the world, it's a good thing. Here's what I think about the tournament at Troon. I think the last time they played at Troon was 2016. I always look at it as, first of all, when I go in this year into a major, I think, number one, is it a course that Scheffler is going to like? Because right now Scheffler is by far the best player in the world. He's playing so much better. He's the first guy since Arnold Palmer in the early 60s to have 6 victories before July. I mean, 6 victories in a year is an incredible achievement, plus a major. Now, he's never won a tournament outside the United States. All right? But he hasn't played that many. So, does this course suit him? It does. It's a course that plays to a long hitter, which he is, who can position the ball, which he can, and is going to hit really good second shots. There's nobody better with their second shots than he is. So, from that standpoint, the only thing you question about him is, once in a while, his putter gets cold like most players. When his putter's on, he is so far the best player in the world, it's not even worth discussing right now. Nobody's close. Not Rory, not Rahm, not anybody. So I think, despite the fact he hasn't played up to his standards in the last two majors after winning the Masters, I think he's going to be there this time. Right now, the BetRivers odds is 540 to 1 for him to win. It's not a great number. It's a Tiger Woods like number. He's plus 128 for 100 to finish in the top five. I think that's a decent bet. 128 for 100, so you're getting a plus on your wager. You're getting 6 to 5 on your wager for him to finish in the top five. And I think you bet him to win, and you bet him top five. I'll give you three players that I think are the value here. Okay, number one, I will bet Scheffler to win it at 540 to 1 and to finish in the top five at plus 128. Both BetRivers numbers. Number two, I would give you Rahm, who has been invisible this year. I've been watching to see if there's any sign of life. There has been. You get Rahm at 25 to 1 to win it. Hey, he can win it. 25 to 1. I'll take Rahm anytime, anywhere at 25 to 1. That's a great price on Rahm. A price that's double what you would usually see, but he's having a bad year. He's had the foot injury, and he has really hit the skid since he went to live and took all the money. And then you're going to take a bomb shot. Not to win, but to finish in the top five. Spieth is 70 to 1 to win. He has got first of all, he plays well in the British Open. Secondly, he's got the kind of game that you need to have and the kind of imagination and the kind of game that can make shots and invent shots around the green. Scheffler can do that, but Spieth can do that. I'm going to take Spieth to finish in the top five at 14 to 1. Generous price. So, and these are all the numbers at BetRivers. He's 70 to 1 to win it. I'm not taking him to win it. I'm taking him to finish in the top five at 14 to 1. So Spieth in the top five at 14 to 1. Rahm at 25 to 1. Scheffler to win it at 540 to 1 and finish in the top five at 128 for 100. That's where I am as far as the British Open. A lot of guys like Aubert. Well, they're going to like Aubert all the time. That's all there is to it. Okay? He's going to get that kind of attention all the time. He's that kind of player. He's going to be a big-time player. A lot of people picking Victor Hovland. I have not seen that consistency come back. I know he's back working with Joe Mayo now. He lost his game when he left Mayo. They had a dispute over money. Now he's back with Mayo. I still don't see the consistency in Victor's game. Not back yet, where it was. So I think I have to wait and see on that one. A lot of people thinking Thigala, because he's played so well. You know, I don't see him on that course. I just don't. So I'm giving you Scheffler, Rahm, and Spieth. Those are my guys. That's it. The British Open is rarely, from our standpoint, that compelling because of when it's on, number one. I mean, you got to get up early in the morning and watch it. Number two, the weather is an issue. It's always an issue. I can't think of a year where it's not an issue. There's going to be a windy, cold, dreary, windy, wind blowing the ball all over the place kind of day, and that is where the tournament will change, especially if you get a day where you got out early and you put a score up and then the wind wiped out the afternoon people, just wiped them out. You get that break, it could be the difference between winning and losing the tournament because it's just the luck of the draw. It happens. You get a day there where all of a sudden the rain and wind blow in, and half the field got out early, and somebody who's on the leaderboard or at top got out early and put up and posted a really good score, and then the wind just took everybody and just killed it in the afternoon. It happens there. It happens there a lot. So from that standpoint, you know what? You always have to be conscious of the wind playing a factor, and in sports, wind is always that unpredictable force. Rain isn't. Wind is. Wind changes everything. I don't care if it's football. I don't care if it's golf. It just changes. Baseball, it changes everything. And you just don't know there what you're going to get from that standpoint. We're a couple of days away from the second half of the season. Obviously, you're going to get all the talk now about trades and who's going to do what. And now that we're past the All-Star game, and listen, there are a lot of teams that are still alive. There are very few teams that are completely out of it, that are going to be automatic sellers. And of that group, there's going to be a lot of people trying to jump into their bullpens. And those couple of players who are going to be available and worth something are not going to come cheap because there's a lot of people looking for help. So from that standpoint, it's going to be very interesting to see how this unfolds and who is aggressive and how aggressive they are. Everybody wants relief pitching. Why not? Most people don't pitch their starters into the sixth inning anymore, so would you want relief pitching too? When you can pitch the guy 4 or 5 times a week and otherwise you get 5 innings out of your starter a week? The way starters are used now, why would you ever pay anybody a fortune? You know what? You're better off valuing your players in another way. Unless you are going to let that guy log some innings. If you're not going to let your starters log innings, well then, you know what? Adjust accordingly. And a lot of these teams don't do that anymore. And very few teams allow a guy to face the lineup a third time. You have to be, Skeens for that to happen right now. Or somebody of that ilk. And we saw some young pitchers, even last night, and some guys who were impressive. And there's some very live arms, but there always are. The question is, do they stay healthy? Because look how many pitchers were not there, who you know of as big-time pitchers and were not there. It just shows you how many injuries we've had. Look at Tampa, look at Houston, go down the line, and look at how many guys. Senga hasn't pitched for the Mets all year. I mean, just go down the line. It's amazing how many starting pitchers are on the shelf. Utterly amazing. It is that bad in terms of how injury-riddled the starting pitchers are. All right, we haven't done any emails in a while. We'll do some. Remember, sending them to Mike Francesa Podcast at gmail.com. First, let me remind you about the Open this week and BetRivers and the BetRivers app. Players who log onto the BetRivers at betrivers.com or the BetRivers app and place an in-tournament bet of $10 or more will receive a 50% matched bet up to a $25 bonus bet. The offer can be claimed one time, total during the promotional period. Minimum odds are plus 100, even money. Okay, so again, players who log on to betrivers.com or the BetRivers app and place an in-tournament bet of $10 or more will receive a 50% matched bet up to $25 bonus bet. The offer can be claimed once during the promotional period, and the minimum wager is plus 100. That's where we are right now. As I said, emails at Mike Francesa Podcast, at the Mike Francesa Podcast at gmail.com. So let me get to some emails here. We haven't gotten to any in a while. Number one, Dennis starts us off. All right. Who do you think was the better safety Ronnie Lott or Ed Reed? That is a tough. Well, that is a tough one. That is, you're talking about two all-time greats. A little different. Ronnie hit harder. Ronnie was more versatile because Ronnie played everywhere. Ronnie played both corners. He started as a corner, played corners, played free safety, played strong safety. Ed Reed was free safety. Ed Reed was a ball hawk. Ronnie was a ball hawk, but Ronnie also was one of the hardest hitters ever at the safety position. Ed was a guy who would dominate the game with his guile, with his savvy, with his ability to ball hawk. One of the great ball hawking safeties of all time. You put him in in the class with the Paul Krauses of the world. It's like you're talking about two of the all-time best. It's a toss-up. Like I said, Ronnie's played more positions. Ronnie's a harder hitter. Ed's more of a ball hawk. They're both all-time great players. And they're both favorites of mine. I know Ronnie well personally. I don't know Ed Reed well personally. But obviously, they're both wonderful, really incredible players. It's a toss-up. It really is. I guess that's why you asked, because it's a toss-up. Mike asks, I'm not a Boone fan. I'm not a Boone hater, but did the Yankees make a mistake letting Mendoza go? No. Again, the way baseball is structured right now, the way the front office is structured right now, the way information is presented to managers, and the way teams expect managers to digest and utilize that information has changed the manager's position markedly. It is a different era in baseball. The analytics departments have a big say, but they do it in a way where it comes from the analytics department. It doesn't come from a person like the manager's decisions do. They come from one person you see, who is visible, who is in a uniform, who is in the dugout. You don't know the analytic people, but they influence the game dramatically. They influence the lineup dramatically. They influence which relievers are used in certain spots, who pitches where, how much rest this guy gets, all that stuff. So that is going on now everywhere. It has changed all sports, and it has changed baseball radically. I don't think there's any question about it. Maybe too much. So I don't think it's about, again, we all know the most important thing that a manager does is, number one, how he handles the locker room and the personalities. Number two, how he handles the bullpen. That's it. Because managers can ruin a bullpen. Just how they utilize it. Also, how many times they get guys up and down even is a huge factor. People don't think about that enough. It is a very big factor. That matters. It matters a lot. I don't blame, like this slump they've gone through. There have been times when I've been on Boone because I felt he had opportunities to really get on his team and he didn't, or get on an individual and he didn't, who weren't hustling or weren't playing properly. That was my problem, but I don't think he's the reason why they went through a terrible month. Just like I don't think he was the reason why they had a great start to the season. Mike, I saw your Colt Reynolds Channel win impressively at Saratoga on Saturday. What are the plans for his 3-year-old campaign? He's been a puzzle for us, and we did him probably a little bit of a disservice, all of us, because, sometimes they're hard to figure out. Now, clearly, Phil Mott's a Hall of Fame trainer. His, records stand for stand there for themselves. I mean, they're tremendous. But clearly, he had talent. He sees him every day. He saw him as the whole barn saw him as a distance horse. Got long stride. Not a small horse. Logically, could run all day. But when he went around the ground, he didn't seem to like it. Plus, when he didn't win a race we thought he was going to win in Kentucky, he lost by a nose to a 5-year-old maiden that was very, very talented, that Rapoli owned, Pletcher trained, beat us a nose. That race upset our year because we were getting him ready for the Classics. That threw us off because Bill likes them to win their maiden before he puts them anywhere else. So we lost that by a nose. Now, we, and the jock was even involved, put blinkers on him. We all decided to put blinkers on him. That's going to focus him, okay, the whole thing. He hated the blinkers. That cost us 2 races. We had blinkers on him for 2 races. That cost them. So there was a lot of, and it just shows you that sometimes it takes a while to figure a horse out. And I don't think we've 100% figured him out yet, but we took a big step, and the barn took a big step last race. We were to the point where we said, okay, 1 turn, no blinkers. Let's see if he responds. If he didn't respond, we were in trouble. Because I felt if he didn't respond here, I don't know where we were going with him. Maybe he wasn't what we thought he was. He took to the race, ran a terrific race, beat a very well-meant Clement horse that was heavily bet, that their connections thought they were going to win easy. Why wouldn't they? They thought their horse was training superbly. They didn't know what was going on with our horse. We tackled him in the stretch, went by him pretty easily, ran a very good race, got a good number. Right now, that sets us up to where we will bring him back, most likely, as long as everything's right, on Travis Day in the Allen Jerkins at 7 furlongs against 3-year-olds in a grade 1. It looks now like he wants to be a 7 furlong mile horse. Nothing wrong with that. Sometimes it took us a while to figure out exactly. We thought he wanted a 1.25 miles. I don't think he does now. I don't think any of us think he does anymore. So it took us a while to learn our lesson. It was frustrating because he had trained very well. He's been well-meant since he got here, and it just wasn't working, and it was very frustrating. So when a horse that you thought was going to break his maiden his first time out, then his second time out, then his third time out, then his fourth time out, then he runs badly his 5th time out, and then he finally runs his race and wins. Luckily, everything came together. I think he will be much better off that effort. I think the win will make him far more confident and professional, and I think we've found where he belongs now. So I think good things for him. Now, he's going to get a really tough field to beat. Okay, no question he's going to be up against some very good horses on Travis Day, as you would expect in a grade 1. I mean, in grade 1, you're running against the best of the best. So we'll see how he does. But that's where he's headed next. And that was a very big win for us because it renewed that we were right, that everyone saw what everyone saw in him turned out to be there. It was getting to the point where we were starting to question it. So now he's back on track. And that's where he's headed. He's headed to, right now, Travis Day, the Jerkins, 7 furlongs, 3-year-olds, grade 1. That's where he's headed. Matt, what is your favorite MLB ballpark? Hands down, Fenway Park. Hands down. Not even close. Not even close. I love Fenway Park. I love everything about it. I love the way it sits, where it sits in the city. I love, as you approach it, I love being inside the ballpark. I love Fenway Park. James, is there a world where the Yankees would trade? So absolutely not. Absolutely not. He is here for the duration. They hope he's here. But I don't see how this works out, to be honest with you, no matter what the outcome is this year. Because his connections are not one to give anybody a discount. He is at the right age, at the right time. He's going to be an incredibly in-demand free agent. And he's going to command a lot more money than Judge makes. And I can't see the Yankees. First of all, I don't think the Yankees want to have him and Judge under those kind of contracts. Secondly, I can't see them paying him more than Judge. And I think it's logical that he goes somewhere else. But again, let that unfold, because I don't know what the scenario is. And I know people think, well, if he wins here, he's going to be so swept up with October that he is going to stay. Not necessarily. So is it logical that he stays? No, it's illogical that he stays, but you never say never. So, but I do not think there would be any way. The Yankees are playing for keeps this year. They're trying to win a World Series. Jesse, what would it mean to the Jets franchise if Aaron Rodgers delivers a championship during his tenure with the team? Everything. That's what he's here for. And the Jets have been in the news again with Adams. Listen, you'd have to be a fool to say, I don't want Adams on my team. Any team would be aided by bringing in a player of that ilk. He's that good a player. So nobody's going to sit here and say, oh, can't use Adams. Well, that's silly. But when you take into account his age and take into account his salary, A, how does he get here? He has to be traded. B, he makes a lot of money. I think his salary this year is $28 million. And C, he's already 31 years old. I don't see it as an easy fit. Now, again, if they hand him over, then you're not going to say no. But there are a lot of things that have to be dealt with that will come into play with him. Would they be aided by him? Well, any wide receiver core is going to be aided by adding Adams. He's a great player. But to me, it's not very logical. Now, I know people have said that it's going to happen. I have no information that it's not going to happen. I have not paid any attention to it, to be honest with you. I've heard the same things everybody else has heard. I've seen the same reports everybody else has, including his agent saying that it's baseless. I don't know what's true and what's not true. But you would always listen for a player of that regard. But he's 31 years old, and he makes a ton of money. I think Williams is going to be good here. Wilson is on the verge of stardom. And I think Hawley's going to be very good. Plus, they can throw to the backs, and they have a great talent in the backfield. Not just at quarterback. They have a great talent at running back. Plus, I think their tight ends are better than people think. I think they're going to be highly productive with this quarterback, because any tight end is going to be highly productive with this quarterback, because he's going to make anybody that much better, because he is deadly accurate. They have to keep him healthy. And they have the offensive personnel now on the line to keep him healthy. They did that. I pounded the table for them to get players. I wanted them to take the Penn State player with their first pick. They did. I wanted them to go get a very talented, a Hall of Fame player who is not going to be cheap, who is not young, and who obviously has had plenty of injuries, but he is a top player. And they did. They got a couple other guys. I had a couple other guys in mind, but they still brought in people who can help. I think they answered the questions. Now they got to put the line together and stay healthy. But I believe that their offensive line is going to work. Ishmael, is Clayton Kershaw a first-ballot Hall of Famer? Hey. And the rest of it is just so that we finish it. Is Clayton Kershaw a first-ballot Hall of Famer despite his postseason struggles? First of all, a lot of pitches were not great in the postseason. Greg Maddux, Roger Clemens, I can go down the list. He goes into the Hall of Fame on roller skates. That's how good he is. It's not even a discussion. It's not even worth discussing a little bit. That's how good he is. And yes, he has struggled in the postseason, as have many guys who have been dominant regular season pitchers. It's funny, there's the El Duques of the world who take 11 weeks off and then are lights out in the postseason. And you wonder what makes El Duque tick. What made El Duque tick? What made him that good all the time? It's an unusual quality he had. And then there were guys like Clemens and Maddux, etc., Kershaw, who pitched brilliantly in the regular season and then struggled in the postseason. It happens a lot, but it hasn't detracted from any of their greatness, and it will not in any way detract from Kershaw's. Not in any way. Remember, send your emails to Mike Francesa Podcast at gmail.com. Now, as we said, we will be using this channel on the BetRivers Network, on YouTube, frequently, regularly in the fall. Once we get to the first week of football, we will be doing it a lot. So over the next 6-7 weeks, we'll be on periodically. We have vacation coming up, so we get some time off before we get to football. But once we get to the football season, we will be doing this on a very, very regular basis. So it'll be there, and we'll talk more about that as we get closer and closer to the fall, which is right around the corner. I know the Olympics are right around the corner, and anytime you've put on NBC, you've watched them hammer away at, Paris this summer, 2024. And when there's not a lot going on, you can always flip it on and you get hour after hour after hour of Olympic coverage. And at times we'll all see what, Katie Ledecky's doing in the pool, or, the U.S. gymnasts are doing, or, watch this track and field event, or whatever's going on. But overall, I just find the Olympics, and I've never been a big Olympic person, but I find them so homogenized and so hermetically sealed and promoted and wrapped and with a bow on top that it doesn't have a real natural competitive feel to it. It just doesn't. I know there's pressure on these kids. I know these kids work a long time for this. I'm not detracting from any of the performers. But I think there's an unnatural level of how much patriotism they try to ram down your throat. And we're all patriotic, okay? But they try to sell it to you in droves during the Olympics. And it's just too slick. It's just too packaged. I wish it was just more natural competition. And there'll be, like I said, there'll be a track and field event that'll compel me, or somebody's performance in the pool, or it could be anything. At any moment, I could watch anything that's on. I mean, I don't watch the gimmicky events. But the real, swimming, even diving, track and field, gymnastics, the things you think about in the Summer Olympics. Because, you never really watch track and field or anything. So when you see those events, or you see the swimming events, they're extraordinary in some of these performances. It's amazing how good they are and how incredibly, talented these players are, these performers are. But it loses something in the translation sometimes. It really does. We'll see you later.